The late afternoon sun hung low over the bustling downtown district. Office workers streamed out of buildings, cars honked in the congested streets, and the steady hum of the city filled the air. In front of the state government building, a sleek black sedan rolled smoothly into a clearly marked reserved space. The car gleamed under the light, polished and understated, yet commanding attention with its presence. The driver's door opened, and a tall black man stepped out. He wore a dark tailored suit, his tie neatly in place, his leather briefcase resting in the back seat. His movements were calm, unhurried, the kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly where one belongs. He paused briefly, checking his phone for a message before locking the vehicle. People in the plaza hardly gave him a second glance. Most assumed he was just another professional finishing his day. But not everyone saw it that way. From across the lot, Karen stood with her shopping bags, her eyes narrowing as she watched him. She saw only what she wanted to see, a man who, in her mind, didn't belong in such a spot. Her lips tightened, her face flushing with indignation. "That's a reserved space," she muttered under her breath, clutching her purse tighter. "Who does he think he is?" She watched as he adjusted his cufflinks and glanced toward the entrance of the building. To her, it wasn't composure she saw. It was arrogance, and she wasn't about to let it slide. Karen shifted her bags to one arm and began marching across the lot, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. Each step fed her certainty that she was doing the right thing. The man, still calm and unaware of the storm approaching, slipped his phone back into his pocket. The peace of the afternoon was about to shatter. Karen's footsteps echoed across the pavement as she closed the distance. Her shopping bag swung at her side, her face tightened with indignation. By the time she reached the sleek sedan, her voice was already raised. "Excuse me," she barked, her tone sharp enough to cut through the noise of traffic. "You can't park here?" The man looked up, calm and unbothered, his posture straight and dignified. "Pardon me?" he asked evenly, his voice polite but steady. Karen jabbed a finger at the white letters painted boldly on the curb. Reserved. "This spot is for important people. Officials, state workers, people with actual business here. Not for random drivers who think they can park wherever they want." A couple passing by slowed, glancing curiously at the confrontation. The man didn't flinch. He met her glare with quiet composure. "I have business here," he said simply. Karen scoffed loudly, shaking her head in disbelief. "Yeah, sure you do. Don't insult my intelligence. I live in this city. I know how people like you pull stunts like this. You need to move your car now, before I call security and have it towed." Her voice had grown louder, carrying across the lot. Several more people turned their heads, sensing drama brewing. The man's expression remained unchanged, his voice calm. "This is not necessary. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be." Karen folded her arms tightly, her chin jutting forward. "Oh, don't give me that. You think wearing a nice suit makes you somebody? These spaces aren't for show-offs who want attention. They're for real leaders. Move your car before you regret it." The words hung in the air, sharp and arrogant, as a small circle of onlookers gathered at the edges of the lot. And though the man remained silent, the weight of his presence only made her angrier. To Karen, it looked like defiance. To everyone else watching, it looked like dignity. Karen planted herself between the man and the building entrance, her arms crossed, her voice growing sharper with every word. "I don't know what game you're playing," she said loudly, ensuring the small crowd nearby could hear. "But you don't belong in that spot. You think you're special? That you can just park anywhere because you feel like it?" The man remained calm, his gaze steady. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "I've already told you. I am exactly where I need to be." Karen laughed, a harsh sound that carried across the lot. "Oh, please. Do you really expect me to believe that? That's the governor's reserved parking." The governor. "Do you honestly think anyone's going to believe you belong here?" Whispers spread quickly among the growing number of bystanders. A pair of office clerks stopped on the steps, glancing at each other nervously. A young man in a delivery uniform shook his head. The arrogance in Karen's voice had turned what should have been a forgettable moment into a public spectacle. The man said nothing more. His silence seemed to frustrate her even further. Karen pulled her phone from her purse and held it up as if it were a weapon. "You know what? I'm taking photos. If you don't move, I'll send these straight to the city. I'm not about to let some stranger take advantage of our system. She snapped a picture of the car, then another of the man himself, her voice carrying with smug satisfaction. We'll see what security has to say about this. The man adjusted his cufflinks and remained still, the picture of composure. He didn't argue, didn't raise his voice, didn't plead. And that calm silence only made Karen louder. The crowd's whispers grew uneasy. Why isn't she stopping? One woman murmured. Another shook his head. She has no idea who she's talking to. But Karen didn't notice the shifting eyes around her. All she saw was a man she had decided didn't belong, and she was determined to prove it. Karen's fingers flew across her phone screen as she snapped picture after picture. The license plate, the sleek sedan, the man standing patiently beside it. Each click of the camera shutter echoed across the lot like a drumbeat of her determination. You can stand there pretending all you want, she sneered, waving the phone as though it were irrefutable evidence. But once I send these in, they'll tow your car so fast, you won't even have time to grab your little briefcase. The man stayed still, his posture tall, his eyes calm. You're making a mistake, he said, his voice low but firm. Karen rolled her eyes dramatically. Mistake? Please. The only mistake is you thinking you could bluff your way into the governor's reserved space. Do you have any idea how important this spot is? You can't just... She broke off into a sharp laugh. Pretend to belong here. The small crowd of onlookers shifted uneasily. Some frowned, others exchanged knowing glances. A security guard from the edge of the building had begun walking closer, drawn by the raised voices. Still, Karen pressed on, her confidence swelling with the audience. So what's it going to be? She demanded, her tone cutting. Are you going to move this car like a decent person? Or do I need to make a call and get it hauled out of here? I'll do it. Don't test me. The man finally adjusted his stance, his deep voice calm but unwavering. Perhaps, he said. You should wait a moment before embarrassing yourself any further. Karen scoffed, shaking her head. Embarrassing myself? Oh no. That's all on you. When security gets here, you'll see just how wrong you are. As if on cue, two uniformed guards approached from the building's entrance, radios clipped to their belts. The crowd's whispers quieted into silence, everyone waiting to see what would happen next. Karen crossed her arms, triumphant. Finally, she muttered under her breath. Now we'll get this sorted. She had no idea that her certainty was about to collapse in front of everyone watching. The two security guards approached with measured steps, their radios crackling faintly. The crowd parted slightly, giving them space, as tension hung thick in the warm afternoon air. Karen sprang forward, waving her phone like a badge of honor. Officers, thank goodness you're here. This man parked in the governor's reserved space. He refuses to move his car and is being completely disrespectful. You need to do your jobs and tow it immediately. Her voice carried across the lot, sharp and self-assured. She gestured at the sedan and then at the man standing beside it, as though she were presenting a criminal caught red-handed. The guards, however, didn't look at Karen. Their eyes went straight to the car. Recognition flashed instantly. One leaned slightly toward the other and murmured, That's the plate. The second guard nodded, his expression changing from neutral to respectful in a heartbeat. Karen, misreading their silence as agreement, pressed on. You see? Even they know he doesn't belong here. Don't waste time. Call for a tow truck. This is government property. Finally, one of the guards turned, his gaze firm. Ma'am, we know exactly whose car this is. Karen smirked, her voice dripping with smug satisfaction. Exactly. So you'll handle it, right? Move him out of here and make sure this spot stays protected for the real governor. The guards exchanged a glance. Then, almost in unison, they turned to the man in the suit. Their posture straightened. Their voices softened with respect. Good afternoon, sir, one guard said. We didn't realize you'd be arriving this early. A hush fell over the onlookers. Karen blinked, confusion flickering across her face. Wait, what? What do you mean, sir? He doesn't belong here, I'm telling you. But the guards were no longer listening to her. Their attention belonged entirely to the man she had tried to shame. Karen's stomach twisted. For the first time, doubt cracked through her certainty. And in the next moment, her world would collapse under the weight of a single word. Governor. The murmurs in the crowd swelled, pressing in like a tide. All eyes darted between the suited man, standing tall and silent, and the security guards whose posture had shifted from routine to reverent. Karen's face flushed red. She jabbed a finger at the man again, desperate to reclaim control. What are you doing? Why are you addressing him like that? He's clearly... Before she could finish, a staff aide hurried out of the building, clutching a folder of documents. The aide's expression brightened the instant he spotted the man. He rushed forward, nearly tripping on the curb. "Governor Williams," the aide said loudly, his voice carrying across the stunned parking lot. "We weren't expecting you until later this evening." Gasps erupted from the bystanders. The words hit the air like a thunderclap. Karen froze, her mouth hanging open, her phone slipping slightly in her hand. "Governor," she whispered, her voice suddenly small, drowned out by the collective astonishment around her. The security guards nodded firmly, confirming what everyone now knew. One stepped aside and gestured toward the building entrance with deference. "Governor, right this way. We've secured the route for you, Governor Williams." The man she had berated, photographed, and humiliated simply picked up his briefcase, his calm composure unbroken. He gave a polite nod to the guards and the aide, acknowledging them with quiet authority. Karen staggered back a step, her face drained of confidence. She tried to speak, but no words came. The smug certainty she had wielded only minutes before crumbled to dust under the weight of her mistake. The whispers of the crowd became sharp, pointed. She yelled at the governor. Unbelievable. Imagine thinking you could order him around. And in that moment, Karen realized her voice, once so loud and commanding, had been reduced to silence in the shadow of the truth. The crowd stood in stunned silence as Governor Williams strode toward the entrance of the government building. His steps were steady, his shoulders squared, every movement radiating quiet authority. He did not look back at Karen. He didn't need to. The two security guards flanked him respectfully, their heads slightly bowed. The staff aide hurried ahead to hold the door open, his voice low but reverent. "Right this way, Governor." In the plaza, people who had stopped to watch now murmured with admiration. Some straightened their posture, as if in acknowledgement of the man who represented their state. Others whispered in disbelief about what they had just witnessed. Karen remained rooted to the spot, her shopping bag slipping from her hand to the pavement. Her face burned crimson as she realized every eye that once watched her with curiosity was now filled with judgment. The whispers stung like barbs. She told the governor to move his car. She shouted at him like he was nobody. Imagine embarrassing yourself like that. Karen tried to shrink into herself, but it was too late. The truth had been revealed, and her arrogance had become her humiliation. Governor Williams disappeared inside the building, his presence leaving the air heavier with respect than when he'd arrived. To the crowd, he was no longer just the man in the parking lot. He was their leader, their governor. And Karen, who moments before had puffed herself up as the self-appointed enforcer of order, was left behind in silence, staring at the black sedan she had tried to claim was out of place. The irony was inescapable. The only person who didn't belong that afternoon was her.